Imagine a time so ancient that even our oldest history books fail to record it. A civilization so advanced, so powerful, that its very existence would shatter everything we think we know about human history. We've been told that humanity's story began a mere 6,000 years ago, with the rise of Sumer, Egypt, and the Indus Valley. But what if that's just a tiny fragment of the truth? What if our true history stretches back not just thousands, but hundreds of thousands of years? What if the ruins of our ancestors' greatest achievements are already buried beneath our feet, lost to time, waiting to be rediscovered? Some believe we are not the first advanced civilization to walk the earth. We are merely the last remnants of the first. Throughout history, whispers of an ancient past have surfaced in myths, religious texts, and forbidden archaeological discoveries. The ancient Sumerians, the earliest known civilization, spoke of beings known as the Anunnaki, powerful entities who descended from the sky and shared forbidden knowledge. Hindu scriptures describe vast civilizations with weapons so destructive they resemble modern nuclear warfare. Indigenous legends from every continent speak of great floods, celestial wars, and lost golden ages, but these stories are dismissed as mere mythology. Yet, what if these myths are the distorted echoes of a real past? Consider the Great Sphinx of Giza, one of the most enigmatic monuments on Earth. Mainstream archaeologists claim it was built around 4,500 years ago during the reign of Pharaoh Khafra, but geological evidence tells a different story. In the 90s, geologist Robert Schoch studied the erosion patterns on the Sphinx's body and found something astonishing. The deep vertical weathering wasn't caused by wind and sand, but by water. Massive, sustained rainfall over thousands of years. The problem? Egypt hasn't seen that kind of rainfall for over 10,000 years. This suggests that the Sphinx was built long before the rise of Egypt's first pharaohs, possibly over 12,000 years ago or more, during a time when mainstream history tells us there were no advanced civilizations. And then there's Göbekli Tepe, an ancient site in Turkey that rewrote history when it was discovered. Before its excavation, archaeologists believed complex societies capable of constructing massive stone structures only emerged around 6,000 years ago. But Göbekli Tepe is over 11,000 years old, older than Stonehenge, older than the pyramids, and older than any known civilization. Its intricately carved megaliths, depicting bizarre creatures and cosmic symbols, hint at an advanced culture with knowledge of the stars and a level of organization previously thought impossible for that time. But here's the strangest part. The site was deliberately buried, as if someone wanted to hide it from the world. Who built it? And why did they try so hard to erase it? Even more compelling is the presence of ancient maps that seem to depict an Earth long before our recorded history. The Piri Reis map, created in the 16th century, features an accurate depiction of Antarctica, centuries before it was officially discovered. But the real mystery is that it shows Antarctica's coastline without ice, something that would only have been visible over 10,000 years ago. This suggests that whoever created the source maps for Piri Reis had knowledge of the world that predates our known civilizations. Could they have inherited this knowledge from an advanced lost society? Some of the most baffling discoveries come from deep within the Earth. In 1991, gold prospectors in Russia's Ural Mountains unearthed something shocking. Tiny, spiraled nanostructures buried in sediment estimated to be over 300,000 years old. These artifacts, some no larger than a millimeter, resemble modern nanotechnology. But how could such intricate objects exist from a time when humanity was supposedly still in the Stone Age? The deeper we dig, the more we uncover anomalies that defy explanation. Mainstream historians argue that human civilization has followed a steady, linear progression, from hunter-gatherers to farmers, then to kingdoms and empires. But mounting evidence suggests a different possibility. An advanced civilization flourished long before our own, only to be wiped out by a cataclysmic event. And this is where things get even more intriguing. Ancient myths from every corner of the world speak of an apocalyptic flood. The story of Noah's Ark, the Sumerian epic of Gilgamesh, the Aztec legend of the fourth sun. These tales all describe a great deluge that nearly wiped humanity from existence. Could these flood myths be a distorted memory of a real event? The Younger Dryas impact hypothesis suggests that around 12,800 years ago, Earth was struck by fragments of a massive comet. This impact triggered a rapid period of global cooling, massive wildfires, and rising sea levels. Conditions eerily similar to the stories told by our ancestors. If an advanced civilization did exist before this time, such a catastrophe would have all but erased it from history, leaving behind only scattered ruins and myths. But what if some survivors remained? What if they were the ones who spread knowledge to the ancient Egyptians, the Sumerians, and the early cultures of the Americas? Could the legends of gods and demigods actually be the last remnants of this lost civilization, passing down fragments of their forgotten past? If the world was home to a lost civilization before recorded history, where did they go? How did they fall? And more importantly, are we their direct descendants or merely the inheritors of their scattered remnants? The clues lie not just in ancient ruins and myths, but also in the unexplained gaps in human history. Times when knowledge seemed to surge forward in ways that defy logical progression. Take the sudden emergence of advanced mathematical and astronomical knowledge in ancient cultures. The Sumerians, credited with inventing the first known writing system, also had an astonishing grasp of celestial mechanics. They tracked planetary movements with incredible precision, understood the concept of a heliocentric solar system, and even calculated time in units of 60, a system we still use today for measuring seconds and minutes. How did such knowledge appear seemingly out of nowhere? The mainstream answer is that it was developed over generations through trial and error. But what if it was inherited, passed down from a civilization that had already reached incredible heights before its collapse? The same question applies to the sudden explosion of pyramid building across the ancient world. Egypt, Mesoamerica, China, and even Indonesia all have massive pyramidal structures, some built thousands of years apart. Mainstream archaeology claims these civilizations developed their architectural skills independently. But what if they were all drawing inspiration from a much older source? Many of these structures align with celestial bodies in ways that suggest an advanced understanding of astronomy. The Great Pyramid of Giza, for example, is not just an impressive tomb. It aligns almost perfectly with true north, something even modern engineers struggle to replicate with such precision. The pyramid's dimensions encode mathematical constants, like pi and the golden ratio. Could such precise engineering be a rediscovery rather than an invention? Then there's the mystery of lost ancient technology. Legends from different cultures describe tools and machines that sound impossibly advanced. The ancient Indian texts known as the Vedas mention flying machines called vimanas, described in great detail as vehicles powered by mercury engines and capable of interstellar travel. In Greece, the Antikythera mechanism, discovered in a shipwreck from over 2,000 years ago, has been described as the world's first analog computer, so complex that it wasn't until the 20th century that humans developed anything comparable. If the Greeks were capable of such advanced engineering, who's to say even older civilizations didn't possess similar or greater technological prowess? Perhaps one of the most compelling pieces of evidence for a lost civilization comes from South America. The ruins of Pumapunku, part of the ancient city of Tiwanaku in Bolivia, feature stone blocks so precisely cut that even modern engineers struggle to explain how they were shaped. The massive stones, some weighing over 100 tons, are carved with near-perfect right angles and interlocking grooves, suggesting advanced masonry techniques far beyond what should have been possible at the time. The site is estimated to be at least 1,500 years old, but some researchers believe it may be far older, possibly predating known Andean civilizations by thousands of years. The real question is, if the people of Pumapunku didn't have the tools to carve these stones, who did? Further south, in Peru, we find the enigmatic Nazca lines, massive geoglyphs depicting animals, geometric shapes, and humanoid figures, etched into the desert floor on such a massive scale that they can only be fully appreciated from the air. The official explanation is that they were created by the Nazca people between 500 BCE and 500 CE as part of religious ceremonies. But how could a pre-industrial society with no aerial perspective create such perfectly proportioned designs? Did they inherit knowledge from a civilization capable of flight? Or were they recreating something they had once seen? And then there's the most mind-bending possibility of all. What if our lost ancestors weren't just confined to Earth? Evidence of advanced astronomical knowledge can be found in ancient cultures worldwide. The Dogon people of Mali, for instance, possess detailed knowledge about the star Sirius B, an invisible companion to the bright star Sirius. This star is so faint and so far away that it wasn't even discovered by modern astronomers until the 19th century. Yet the Dogon claim their ancestors were visited by beings from this star system thousands of years ago. Could this be a remnant of knowledge from a civilization that had already reached the stars before being wiped out? If a lost civilization did once exist, we have to ask, what destroyed them? Theories range from natural disasters to cosmic events. The Younger Dryas impact hypothesis suggests that fragments of a massive comet hit Earth around 12,800 years ago, causing widespread destruction, triggering a sudden ice age, and possibly wiping out any advanced society that existed at the time. The evidence? A layer of nanodiamonds and platinum, both associated with cosmic impacts, has been found in archaeological sites across North America, Europe, and even as far as Chile, suggesting a global catastrophe. Other researchers believe shifting Earth's crust could have played a role. The controversial theory of Earth crust displacement, proposed by Charles Hapgood, suggests that the entire outer shell of the Earth once shifted dramatically, possibly causing massive floods and landmass realignments. This would explain why we find ancient maps like the Piri Reis map depicting Antarctica without ice, implying that it was once in a very different location. Could this be the reason we find submerged ruins off the coasts of Japan, India, and the Caribbean, evidence of cities that once thrived before the sea swallowed them? Yet another possibility lies in the human factor. Could ancient civilizations have reached a level of advancement that ultimately led to their own downfall? Some researchers point to myths describing wars between gods, references to great battles fought with weapons of fire and thunder. The Hindu Mahabharata describes a devastating war where a single projectile charged with the power of the universe created an explosion as bright as 1,000 suns. Descriptions eerily reminiscent of nuclear detonations. If an advanced civilization did exist in prehistory, did they meet their end in a war that left few survivors? If that's the case, then the most unsettling question of all emerges. Are we doomed to repeat their fate? If we truly are the last remnants of the first civilization, are we heading toward the same catastrophic end as those who came before us? Or is there still time to uncover their wisdom, learn from their mistakes, and break the cycle before history repeats itself? If we are indeed the last remnants of the first civilization, what traces of their knowledge might still exist? Could the secrets of our forgotten ancestors be hidden in plain sight, waiting to be uncovered? Some researchers believe that ancient texts, symbols, and structures contain messages encoded by those who came before us, warning us of the fate that awaits if we do not learn from history. One of the most intriguing examples is the Great Pyramid of Giza. Many believe it was not simply a tomb, but something far more profound. A machine, a message, or even a time capsule left behind by an advanced civilization. The pyramid's alignment with true north, its incorporation of mathematical constants, and its precise dimensions suggest an understanding of engineering and the cosmos that defies what should have been possible in the ancient world. Could the Great Pyramid be a remnant of an older, lost society? Some researchers argue that it was built using forgotten technology, perhaps through sound frequencies, anti-gravity, or knowledge of Earth's energy fields. If true, this would suggest that the ancient builders understood physics and engineering in ways we are only beginning to grasp. But the Great Pyramid is not the only structure that raises questions. In Indonesia, Gunung Padang, a massive megalithic site, has been called the oldest pyramid in the world. Dating techniques suggest it may be over 20,000 years old, making it far older than any known civilization. Underneath the surface, researchers have found chambers and structures buried deep within the earth, hinting that the site was not simply a natural hill, but a complex construction, built in stages over thousands of years. If this is true, it challenges everything we know about the timeline of human civilization. And then there are the mysterious ancient libraries, collections of texts that hint at lost knowledge. The Library of Alexandria, one of the most famous repositories of ancient wisdom, was said to contain scrolls describing lost civilizations, unknown continents, and forgotten sciences. Its destruction is considered one of history's greatest tragedies. But what if some of its knowledge survived? The enigmatic emerald tablets, attributed to the ancient figure Thoth or Hermes Trismegistus, contain cryptic references to a civilization that once thrived before a great flood erased its memory. Could these texts be a clue to our forgotten past? But perhaps the most startling clues lie beneath the oceans. Throughout the world, underwater ruins hint at civilizations that once stood on dry land before rising seas swallowed them. Off the coast of Japan, the Yonaguni Monument consists of massive stone terraces and sharp-angled formations that resemble a submerged city. Mainstream scientists argue it is a natural formation, but others insist that the precise angles and step-like structures indicate artificial construction. Similarly, off the coast of India, the ruins of Dwarka, an ancient city mentioned in Hindu texts, have been discovered beneath the waves. Sonar scans have revealed the outlines of what appears to be an entire metropolis, lost to time. Could these be the remains of a civilization that flourished before the last ice age, when sea levels were much lower? If these lost civilizations existed, why is there so little evidence of them? The answer may lie in the nature of time itself. The further back we go, the more nature reclaims what was once built. Stone structures may survive, but metal, wood, and other materials decay beyond recognition. Given enough time, even the greatest cities can vanish beneath the earth, covered by jungles, deserts, or oceans. But what if we have been looking for the wrong kinds of evidence? The greatest proof of our lost ancestors may not be in stone or metal, but in ourselves. Our myths, our symbols, even our DNA may hold memories of the past. Some scientists speculate that genetic bottlenecks in human history, times when the human population suddenly shrank, may be evidence of global catastrophes that wiped out previous civilizations. If humanity has risen and fallen before, it may explain why our most ancient cultures seem to appear out of nowhere, already possessing advanced knowledge. And then there is the most unsettling possibility of all. What if we are living in the aftermath of their greatest mistake? Could the first civilization have reached technological heights that rival or even surpass our own, only to be destroyed by their own hubris? If they unlocked the secrets of energy, genetics, or even artificial intelligence, could they have set events in motion that ultimately led to their own extinction? And if history truly does repeat itself, are we heading toward the same fate? The truth is, we may never know for certain what came before us. But the evidence suggests that humanity's story is far older and far stranger than we have been led to believe. The myths of lost golden ages, ancient cataclysms, and forgotten wisdom may not be myths at all, but the echoes of a past we are only beginning to rediscover. And if we are indeed the last remnants of the first civilization, then the choices we make now may determine whether we, too, become nothing more than legends for those who come after us. We are the last remnants of the first civilization. But what if we are not alone? What if traces of those who came before us still exist, hidden not just in the ruins beneath our feet, but in the mysteries of the world we have yet to understand? What if their knowledge was never entirely lost, but preserved in ways we are only beginning to recognize? Throughout history there have been whispers, stories of strange encounters, inexplicable discoveries, and knowledge that seems to appear out of nowhere. Some believe that those who survived the fall of the first civilization never truly vanished. Instead, they withdrew, hiding their wisdom from the world until the time was right. Could this explain the legends of secret societies, hidden masters, and shadowy figures who seem to possess knowledge beyond their time? One of the most intriguing pieces of evidence for this idea lies in the myths of the hidden people, beings who live in secret, guiding humanity from the shadows. Nearly every ancient culture speaks of them. In India, they are known as the Siddhas, enlightened beings who retreated into the Himalayas, waiting for the world to be ready for their knowledge. In Tibet, stories speak of Shambhala, a hidden kingdom of advanced wisdom said to be home to the last remnants of an ancient race. The Hopi of North America tell of the Ant People, beings who took their ancestors underground to survive a great cataclysm. Even in European folklore, we find legends of the Tuatha De Danann, an ancient race of godlike beings who vanished into the hills and mountains, leaving behind only their magic and wisdom. Could these stories be distorted memories of real survivors from a lost civilization, people who went underground, far away from the destruction, waiting for the right moment to return? The idea of hidden survivors isn't just a myth. In the modern world, researchers and explorers have discovered baffling underground structures that defy explanation. In Turkey, the massive underground city of Derinkuyu stretches deep into the earth, capable of housing thousands of people. It features ventilation shafts, water systems, and even stone doors designed to keep intruders out. The official explanation is that it was built around the 8th century BCE as a refuge from invaders. But the sheer scale of the city, along with its unknown origins, raises questions. Could Derinkuyu be far older than we realize? Could it be evidence of an ancient civilization that went underground to survive a global catastrophe? And Derinkuyu is not alone. In China, an entire underground pyramid structure was discovered beneath Xi'an, its origins lost to time. In Ecuador, the Cueva de los Tallos, a deep cave system, has been rumored to contain metallic books and lost knowledge. So compelling that even Neil Armstrong, the first man on the moon, joined an expedition to explore it. Across the world, from Egypt to South America, legends persist of vast underground networks, ancient tunnels, and hidden chambers filled with unknown artifacts. What if the remnants of the first civilization are still there, hidden in these depths, waiting to be found? But the mystery doesn't stop at underground cities. The greatest puzzle may lie in the strange figures of history. People who seem to appear from nowhere, possessing knowledge far beyond their time. Take the case of Imhotep, the ancient Egyptian architect and scholar credited with designing the first pyramid. Unlike other figures of history, Imhotep's origins are shrouded in mystery. He was so revered that he was later deified, but no records of his birth or childhood exist. He simply emerged, fully formed, with knowledge far beyond what should have been possible at the time. Could Imhotep have been a remnant of a lost civilization, one of the last holders of ancient wisdom, passing it on before it was forgotten again? Similar figures appear in other cultures. The Sumerians spoke of Oannes, a being who emerged from the sea to teach them the arts of civilization. The Dogon people of Africa claim their ancestors were visited by the Nomo, amphibious beings who gave them knowledge of astronomy long before modern science confirmed it. Even in more recent history, figures like Leonardo da Vinci seem almost supernatural in their brilliance, appearing with knowledge and ideas centuries ahead of their time. Could these individuals have been part of an unbroken chain, keepers of the lost knowledge, ensuring that fragments of the first civilization survive across the ages? If this is true, the implications are staggering. It would mean that the knowledge of the first civilization never truly disappeared. Instead, it was carefully preserved, hidden away in underground cities, encoded in myths, and passed down through secret traditions. And if this knowledge still exists, waiting to be rediscovered, then the question is no longer whether we are the last remnants of the first civilization. The question is, are we ready to reclaim what was lost? If remnants of the first civilization still exist, hidden in underground cities, scattered in ancient texts, or passed down through mysterious figures, then why has their knowledge remained secret? Why has humanity not rediscovered what was lost? The answer may lie in something even more disturbing: the possibility that this knowledge has been deliberately concealed, suppressed, or even erased from history. Throughout the ages, powerful institutions have sought to control knowledge, deciding what should be preserved and what must be forgotten. The destruction of the Library of Alexandria is perhaps the most famous example, but it was not the only one. The burning of the Mayan codices by Spanish conquistadors, the loss of ancient texts from Sumer and Babylon, and even modern censorship of alternative historical theories all point to a troubling pattern. What if there was something in those lost records that threatened the established order, something so dangerous that it had to be erased? Consider the Vatican archives, one of the most secretive collections of knowledge in the world. Buried beneath the Vatican, these archives contain thousands of ancient manuscripts, many of which have never been made public. Some researchers believe that among these documents are records of lost civilizations, forbidden histories, and knowledge that could rewrite everything we think we know. Why has this information been locked away for centuries? What could be so dangerous about the truth? Even more unsettling are the stories of artifacts that seem to defy history, objects that do not fit into our accepted timeline of civilization. These are known as out-of-place artifacts, and they have been found all over the world. The London hammer, a hammer encased in rock estimated to be over 100 million years old, challenges our understanding of human history. The mysterious Baghdad battery suggests that electricity may have been known in the ancient world. And then there's the Piri race map, a 16th century map that appears to depict Antarctica without ice, something supposedly impossible before modern satellite imaging. If these artifacts are real, then history as we know it is incomplete. Could they be remnants of the first civilization, objects that somehow survived its fall? But if these traces of lost knowledge still exist, why have they not been recognized? By mainstream science? The answer may lie in the very nature of our civilization. Modern society is built on the assumption that we are the pinnacle of human achievement, that we are the first to reach this level of technological and scientific understanding. To acknowledge the possibility of a lost civilization would mean admitting that we are not the first, and perhaps not even the most advanced. This challenges everything we have been taught. Yet, in recent years, cracks have begun to form in the official narrative. The discovery of Göbekli Tepe, a 12,000-year-old temple complex in Turkey, shattered the idea that advanced architecture only emerged after agriculture. The site predates known civilization by thousands of years, yet it was built with a level of sophistication that suggests knowledge handed down from an earlier time. What if this was not the first temple, but simply the oldest one to survive? What if it was built by the remnants of a lost civilization, attempting to preserve their knowledge before it was forgotten forever? There are also strange anomalies in our own technological progress. Human civilization supposedly went from simple hunter-gatherer societies to building pyramids and cities in just a few thousand years. Yet, for nearly 200,000 years before that, human beings remained in a seemingly stagnant state. Why? Some researchers suggest that civilization has risen and fallen multiple times, that every time humans reach a certain level of advancement, something catastrophic wipes it all away. If so, then the first civilization was not just one lost society, but part of a cycle that has repeated itself again and again. But if that is true, then what does it mean for us? Are we simply following the same doomed path? If the first civilization fell, and others before us may have fallen as well, then what was their fatal mistake? Did they destroy themselves? Were they wiped out by a disaster they could not prevent? Or is there something even more terrifying? Something that comes for every advanced civilization, ensuring that none survive beyond a certain point? If we truly are the last remnants of the first civilization, then the greatest mystery of all is not what came before us. It is what happens next. If civilizations have risen and fallen before us, if lost knowledge has been hidden or suppressed, and if we are simply repeating the same patterns that doomed those who came before, then what awaits us in the future? Are we standing on the edge of another collapse, blindly walking the same path as our forgotten ancestors? Or is there still time to change our fate? To answer that question, we must first understand what may have caused the downfall of the first civilization. Was it a natural disaster, something beyond their control? Some researchers believe that Earth undergoes periodic cataclysms, events so devastating that they wipe entire civilizations from existence. The Younger Dryas impact hypothesis suggests that a comet or asteroid struck Earth around 12,800 years ago, triggering massive fires, global cooling, and rising sea levels. Could this have been the event that ended the first civilization? If so, then we must ask, how advanced were they before their destruction? Did they see it coming? Did they try to warn the survivors who came after them? Ancient myths suggest they did. Nearly every culture has stories of a great flood. Noah's Ark in the Bible, the Sumerian tale of Utnapishtim, the Hindu legend of Manu, the Hopi stories of worlds destroyed and reborn. These myths describe not only destruction, but also survival. Chosen individuals who were given knowledge, tasked with rebuilding after the catastrophe. If the first civilization was wiped out by a cosmic event, did some of them survive? Did they pass down what little they could before it was lost again? But what if the first civilization was not simply the victim of a disaster, but the cause of its own destruction? Some theorists believe that they reached a level of technological advancement far beyond what we imagine, perhaps even beyond our own. If so, what could have gone wrong? Did they tamper with forces they didn't fully understand? Did they unlock the secrets of energy, genetics, or artificial intelligence, only to unleash something they could not control? Some believe this is the true meaning behind the story of Atlantis, a civilization that became so powerful, so arrogant, that it triggered its own downfall. Could history be repeating itself once again? If the first civilization made the same mistakes we are making now, then we may already be following in their footsteps. We are pushing the boundaries of technology at an unprecedented rate, developing artificial intelligence, modifying the human genome, experimenting with powerful energy sources. But do we truly understand the consequences? If they did something similar, if they reached a level of power that ultimately destroyed them, then we must ask, is our civilization heading toward the same fate? But what if the answer is even stranger? What if their destruction was not an accident, not a natural disaster, not even a mistake of their own making? What if they were erased, deliberately? Some researchers believe that civilizations may not be allowed to progress beyond a certain point. That once a society reaches a particular threshold of knowledge and power, something intervenes. Some point to the Fermi paradox, the eerie silence of the universe. If intelligent life is common, then where are they? Why have we found no evidence of other advanced civilizations? What if the answer is simple? What if they were destroyed? What if there is a force, a pattern, a cycle in the universe that ensures no civilization is allowed to grow beyond a certain level? And if so, then where does that leave us? If we are indeed the last remnants of the first civilization, if we are once again reaching the limits of what is possible, then are we next? Are we approaching the moment where history repeats itself one final time? Or do we have the power to break the cycle? Perhaps the first civilization was not completely lost. Perhaps they left behind warnings, hidden in myths, encoded in ancient structures, buried beneath the earth and the oceans, waiting for us to discover them. If so, then we may still have a chance to learn from their mistakes, a chance to change our destiny. The question is, will we listen before it is too late? We are not simply the last remnants of the first civilization. We are its unfinished story, the final chapter in a book written long before history began. And yet, something is wrong. Something is missing. If we were truly the first to reach this level of advancement, then why do we keep stumbling upon things that do not belong in our timeline? Why do ancient ruins defy explanation? Why do whispers of a forgotten age still echo in our myths, our dreams, and even our DNA? The truth is closer than we think, but it has been buried, deliberately. Someone, or something, does not want us to remember. Across the world, evidence of the first civilization has been hidden in plain sight, erased from records, and dismissed as mere legend. Consider the ruins of Nan Madol, a lost city built upon the waters of the Pacific, its massive basalt stones, placed with a precision that should have been impossible for its time. No one knows who built it, why it was abandoned, or how its creators moved stones heavier than modern cranes can lift. Then there is the Yonaguni Monument, an underwater structure, off the coast of Japan, displaying unmistakable signs of artificial design. Mainstream archaeologists dismiss it as a natural formation, but how does nature carve perfect staircases, terraces, and symmetrical pathways beneath the sea? The more we look, the more the pieces begin to form a terrifying picture, one that suggests we are walking on the bones of a forgotten empire, an empire that may have wielded powers beyond our comprehension, powers that should not have been possible in the ancient world. And then, there are the maps. The Piri race map was just the beginning. Other ancient maps, like the Orontius Phineus map, depict Antarctica's coastline without ice, suggesting that someone charted it before the last ice age. But who? How? Did they possess knowledge far beyond what history allows? More disturbingly, why do these maps appear to have been copied, as if the knowledge was being preserved even after the fall of those who first discovered it? But the most disturbing clue lies not in maps or ruins, but in the remnants of those who survived. There have always been whispers of an ancient lineage, individuals who carry fragments of the first civilization's knowledge in their very blood. Is this why so many ancient cultures speak of divine bloodlines, rulers who were not merely human but something more? In Sumer, the kings of old were said to reign for thousands of years before something changed, before humanity was reset. In Egypt, the pharaohs claimed descent from the gods, as did the Inca rulers of South America. Could these lineages have been the last flickering embers of a race that came before us? And if so, where are they now? Did they vanish completely, or did they retreat into the shadows, waiting for the world to be ready for their return? Across the world, secret societies, hidden orders, and whispers of forbidden knowledge all suggest that not everything was lost. Could it be that fragments of the first civilization still exist, locked away by those who fear what might happen if humanity rediscovers its past? Perhaps the knowledge was hidden for our own protection. Perhaps the first civilization's greatest mistake was unlocking a power they were never meant to control. But if that is true, then the question is no longer whether we will find the truth. It is whether we are meant to, and what happens if we do. If the first civilization truly left behind survivors, secret bloodlines, and remnants of their knowledge, then we must ask, what exactly did they know? What power did they wield that was so dangerous it had to be erased from history? The answer may lie in the one thing that connects all ancient myths, all forgotten ruins, and all suppressed knowledge, an understanding of reality itself that far surpasses our own. Every ancient culture speaks of forces beyond the material world, energies that govern existence, hidden pathways between dimensions, and the ability of the mind to manipulate reality itself. The Vedas of ancient India describe Brahmastra, a weapon of the gods capable of burning entire cities, eerily resembling descriptions of nuclear explosions. The Lost Emerald Tablet, an alchemical text whispered about in secret orders, speaks of the ability to transcend physical form, to manipulate time, to achieve a state of knowledge beyond human limitation. Even the Bible, in Genesis, hints that Adam and Eve were forbidden from eating the fruit of the tree of life after consuming the fruit of knowledge, an act that would have made them like the gods. But what if this was more than metaphor? What if the first civilization unlocked the deepest secrets of the universe? Secrets that allowed them to command forces we can barely begin to understand. Were they able to manipulate gravity, energy, even time itself? Could this explain the mysterious stonework of ancient sites, where massive blocks appear to have been effortlessly lifted and shaped with precision beyond even our modern capabilities? Could this knowledge explain why civilizations like Egypt, Sumer, and the Maya seem to emerge suddenly, fully formed, as if guided by a hand that had already seen the future? And yet, something happened. Something went terribly wrong. If they truly reached the pinnacle of understanding, then why did they fall? Some believe that they opened a door they were never meant to open, unleashing forces beyond their control. Others suggest that they shattered the natural balance of existence, forcing the universe itself to correct their mistake. But there is another, more terrifying possibility, one that few dare to speak aloud. What if they were destroyed? Not by nature, not by war, but by something or someone that did not want them to continue. Throughout history, there are whispers of an unseen force that intervenes whenever humanity reaches a certain level of advancement. Some call it fate, others call it the gods. But what if it is something else entirely? What if there is a hidden intelligence, an ancient presence, that ensures no civilization is allowed to surpass a certain threshold? If the first civilization had truly reached beyond the limits of human understanding, then perhaps they attracted the attention of something that was never meant to be found. And now, we may be on the verge of making the same mistake. Modern science is already approaching the boundaries that the first civilization may have once crossed. We are experimenting with quantum mechanics, artificial intelligence, and genetic modification. We are building machines capable of manipulating space and time on a microscopic level. What if, in doing so, we are unknowingly retracing the steps of those who came before us? What if we are about to reach the point where the first civilization was erased? And what if whatever erased them is still watching? And if that is true, then the final question is no longer just about the past. It is about the future. What happens when we finally rediscover the forbidden knowledge of the first civilization? Will we be allowed to wield it? Or will we too be wiped from history? If the first civilization was erased by something beyond our understanding, then the most terrifying possibility is that history is not just repeating itself. It is being enforced, controlled, maintained, as if an unseen force is ensuring that no civilization, no matter how advanced, is ever allowed to move beyond a certain point. But who, or what, could have the power to shape the fate of entire civilizations? Some believe the answer lies in the vastness of space. The universe is billions of years old, filled with stars, planets, and the potential for intelligent life, and yet we hear nothing. The Fermi paradox remains unresolved. If civilizations should be common, then why do we find only silence? Some theorists suggest that the answer is simple: something is removing them. A force that eliminates any civilization that becomes too powerful, too knowledgeable, too close to unlocking the final secrets of existence. Could this have been the fate of the first civilization? Did they reach beyond their limits, only to be noticed by something that ensures no one ever ascends beyond a certain threshold? And if so, is that force now watching us? But what if the answer is even closer to home? Some believe the first civilization never truly disappeared, that it simply went underground, hiding in the shadows, manipulating the course of history to prevent humanity from reaching the same level again. Could this be why certain knowledge has been suppressed? Why ancient texts were burned? Why lost cities are ignored? Why secret societies hold forbidden wisdom that the world is not allowed to see? If remnants of the first civilization still exist, then perhaps they are not trying to help us reclaim the past. They are trying to keep us from repeating it. And yet, despite their efforts, we are accelerating toward the same fate. AI, quantum mechanics, genetic engineering, we are approaching the limits of knowledge once again. If the first civilization was destroyed, then we may already be standing at the threshold of our own extinction. The warnings were left behind, hidden in myths, encoded in forgotten ruins, whispered in the shadows. But will we listen, or will we push forward, blindly, into the same abyss that consumed them? Because if history has taught us anything, it is this: those who unlock the final secrets of reality do not survive to tell the tale. And if we are truly the last remnants of the first civilization, then we may soon learn why. Please subscribe this channel to support us.